This is the Chat City interviews from 103.2 Preston FM with your host, Hughie Parr.
Right now, it's time to welcome into the studio Graeme Tobyn Veda West for our Natural Health feature. So, a very good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Hi.
So, nice to see you again, and here we are, the last day of March.
That's right. Yes, I'm Graeme Tobyn, and with my colleague Veda West, we're the qualified herbalists that run the Preston Herbal Clinic at the Remedy Centre for Health, Tulketh Road, Preston, www.remedycentre.co.uk. Now, we're all aware that the season is changing and that spring is upon us. The past winter was not cold, but very wet, breaking all records. The perennial dampness of the British Isles compared to other countries gave rise, in earlier centuries, to naming arthritis the English disease, and sufferers are always worse on cold and wet days.
So, Graeme, what's the topic of your talk today? Arthritis?
No, Veda, actually. I want to talk today about the transition from winter to spring. The change of season used to be cited as the classic example of a test of our health, of maintaining our equilibrium when everything around us is in a constant state of flux. In the time of the famous Greek doctor Hippocrates over 2,500 years ago, and up until the end of the 19th century, health was positively defined as a dynamic balance of opposing forces. Any one force could be strengthened or weakened by changing circumstances, and our characteristic reactions to it, because Greek medicine had a theoretical model for understanding the links between body, mind and environment, that upset that balance that we call health. The change of seasons from winter to spring, to summer, to autumn and back to winter again, provided an analogy for all such alterations that challenge the balance that is health.
What characterises the alteration from winter to spring, Graeme?
Well, we are in the dampest period of the year, Veda, but since the equinox on the 21st of March, the length of the day has been increasing and the night shortening, so that we get longer periods of strong sunlight warming the northern hemisphere and its peoples. The energies are rising, the body stirring from its winter slumber. Doctors in the past saw that winter made us more clogged up as we stayed indoors to keep warm, where we ate well but exercised less. They considered that the body thus filled up with cold, damp, wintry, phlegmatic humours. Once, however, we feel the energy of spring and the desire to become more active, like the little lambs bouncing about in the fields, our clogged energy channels need clearing. One way they saw this cleansing taking place is through a feverish cold, brought on by the excess of the cold humour inside the body, that our vital spirits cleared through heat and sweat.
So, how can we avoid having a spring cold, Graeme?
OK, in our culture at this time of year are two key dates linked to the religious calendar, namely Pancake Day and Easter. Pancake Day is Shrove Tuesday, when traditionally each house's stock of flour and milk were used up to make pancakes. Wheat flour and dairy products are phlegm-forming foods. The following day, Ash Wednesday, was a day for confessing sins as the period of Lent began, which lasted until Easter. And Easter itself is a movable feast, and there were reckoned 40 days of Lent preceding it, so the date of Shrove Tuesday also varies. The idea of Lent can be used to our advantage in looking after our health, in the sense of cutting down on or giving up the mucus-forming foods such as flour, cakes and biscuits, hot cross buns, milk, cheese and cream for several weeks before Easter, during the dampest period of the year, and the change of energies from winter to spring.
Do herbs help?
The herbalist Nicholas Culpeper mentioned in his Herbal over 350 years ago some of the herbs that help in this transition. And guess what? They are among the first herbs to start popping up at the beginning of spring. Stinging nettle tops, harvested with a glove and scissors, can be infused to make a tea or used like any leafy vegetable. Nettle is diuretic, and like dandelion leaves, sometimes called knowingly in the past pissabed, can be used to void the excess dampness. Slightly bitter dandelion leaves are a popular wild food for spring salads, in fact. Another early herb to come out are ransoms. These grow in damp corners of woods, but have a biting taste, explained by their other name of wild garlic. This will help any respiratory tract infections that come with colds. The leaves of ransoms, like those of dandelion, can go into salads or teapots or straight into the mouth, as long as they're cleaned and picked away from where doggies go. Cleavers too is a very common hedgerow herb, which is also a cleanser, a diuretic. This is the one that sticks to your jacket as you brush past. It grows in large clumps, and if you try to take a handful, the individual stems adhere one to the other, and you cannot help but pull up several. You can even easily roll them into a ball. Its common name is Sticky Willy, which always raises a chuckle with modern audiences. Tear this up into a teapot, pour on boiling water, and you'll have a pleasant green tea which tastes something of peas. Culpeper specifically wrote actually about tansy cakes at Easter, made by frying eggs with the leaves of the herb tansy, which grows along riverbanks. As well as clearing cold and dampness, this had the benefit of deworming the children who ate them. As this use suggests, however, tansy contains some strong plant chemicals and should never be taken by pregnant women or sufferers of epilepsy. In general, you should only pick these common herbs if you are absolutely sure of your identification. However, you are always on safe ground if you just give up the pancakes and the buns until the Easter feast, and there are still 3 weeks to go. So what are you talking about today, Veda?
I'm going to talk about rhinitis today. So allergic rhinitis is inflammation of the inside of the nose, and it's caused by an allergen such as pollen, dust, mould or animal dander. When the body is exposed to an allergen, it produces histamine, which causes the symptoms of sneezing, a blocked and itchy nose and irritated eyes. There are two types of rhinitis, seasonal and perennial. So seasonal rhinitis is otherwise known as hay fever. So many of you will be able to relate to that. And it tends to affect people in the summer. The main allergens are grass, tree and flower pollens or mould spores from trees. The time of year it occurs can help to indicate which type of pollen you are allergic to. So if your hay fever starts in spring, it's likely that you're allergic to tree pollen. Hay fever which starts early summer and continues through to autumn may be due to grass pollen. And hay fever which starts in autumn may be due to weed pollen or mould spores. Perennial rhinitis occurs all year round, and the range of allergens is much wider. So these can include house dust mites, animal dander or animal hair, and mould. And things like cigarette smoke and food allergies may worsen symptoms. You can actually have a combination of the two, where you have it all year round and it's sort of exacerbated in say spring or summer when you've got the sort of pollens are out there.
So if it's the seasonal rhinitis, the hay fever, or the perennial one, or indeed a mixture of the two, what can sufferers actually do to improve their symptoms?
Well, the first thing to do is try and reduce your exposure to the allergen. Not always easy, but worth seeing what you can do on that front. So, for example, if the pollen count is high, keep your windows shut, wear sunglasses or glasses, and try to avoid grassy spaces. If animal dander is a cause, keeping animals out of the bedroom at night can really help. As a general piece of advice, reducing sugar can help as it lowers the immune system and increases the production of catarrh. And reducing dairy can help as it increases mucus production, making symptoms worse. And a number of people swear by eating local honey over winter can really make a difference in alleviating symptoms.
Okay, which herbal remedies are good for hay fever and rhinitis?
Well, firstly, I'd like to point out that there's loads of herbs that are wonderful for this. So I'm just going to talk to you about some of my favourites. So there are herbs which are antihistamine, and the best example of this is nettle. So you can make nettle tea by using a teaspoon of dried nettle to a cup of boiling water. infuse, which basically means to steep it and let it sit there in the hot water for 5 to 10 minutes. Strain and drink 3 to 4 cups a day. And as Graeme discussed earlier, it's the right time of year to collect fresh nettles to use in teas or foods such as soup. So any way you can get it into your system is going to be good. Herbs which help to reduce the production of mucus are also helpful, and these include things like eyebright, elderflower and goldenrod. And eyebright is actually a wonderful herb for hay fever because it's anti-catarrhal, and as its name suggests, it's got an affinity with the eyes, so it's great for watery, itchy eyes, which are, a real kind of bugbear of people when they're suffering from this, because it's not a nice symptom to have. I like to combine these herbs with what we call demulcents, and demulcents are herbs which soothe the mucous membranes. Examples include plantain and licorice. Licorice is a great herb, but you need to be cautious if you have high blood pressure. Plantain is a great herb for hay fever, as it's also antihistamine. Not as strong as nettle, but it's still got those actions, so it's doing a couple of things there. Ephedra is another herb that herbalists may use as its anti-allergy. It's also great for things like asthma, which some people may get alongside the hay fever. It's a herbal remedy that isn't available over the counter, though. It's only available by prescription from trained herbalists like Graeme and myself. And it's a herb which is very effective, very strong action, but it needs to be taken with care, so you have to be cautious about taking it alongside certain other medications and with some health conditions. So yes, it is a good herb, though.
Yeah, I like using that, I must say. So when should people start taking the herbs?
My advice would be to start taking herbal medicine a month to 6 weeks before you usually get the symptoms. So this time of year is ideal for starting treatment. Right. It can help to alleviate symptoms once they're there, but really you want to get treatment in early, just to build up the sort of tonic effect of the herbs and,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Hughie, that's our seasonal advice for listeners today at the start of spring.
And lovely to have you back in the studio again.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
One of our popular features.
Oh, wonderful.
And there you are. That's Graeme Tobyn Veda West from Preston Herbal Health Centre, 166 Tulketh Road. And telephone number if anybody wants to make contact with you both.
Yes, that's 761166.
Okay, well, lovely to meet you, and look forward to seeing you in May.
Looking forward to being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as we have. Why not join our Chat City family and give us a tweet at Chat City PFM.